Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this online webinar looking at Cosmos for Business Central. I hope you have a good morning so far. I will hand over to Rob and Simon, who are leading this webinar for today. And if you do have any questions, you can post them in the Q&A chat on the very top, and we'll try and address as many as possible as we go throughout. And if needs be, we can come back to you if we don't get around to them. So Simon and Rob, I'll hand over to you two if you would like to unmute yourselves.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Nice to have you all today. Have you with us all today. Thank you for. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. So just quickly introduce myself. My name is Simon Vervagen. I am one of the senior sales specialists at Experience. I'm joined by Rob Jackson, who is the technical director and co-founder at Cosmos. And the plan for today is to take you through the Cosmos reporting tool for Business Central. Brief sort of synopsis of who we are. So Experience, we started out life over 50 years ago and now employ over 240 staff and supporting over 1,800 clients. We work across 6 office locations. We've got London, Gloucester, Bury St Edmunds, Peterborough, Glasgow, and our head office is Lisbon, Northern Ireland. The main sort of core business areas are ERP, which is very much my role, CRM, cloud, managed IT, and cybersecurity. But today we're focusing on ERP and specifically Business Central and the Cosmos reporting solution. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Rob, who's going to take you through today's session.
Thank you very much, Simon, for the introduction, and hi everyone to all of the experienced customers on the call. It's nice to see so many people. So what I'm going to do is just introduce you to Cosmos, just with a couple of PowerPoint slides to begin with, but the majority of the presentation will actually be looking inside the product, so I can give you like a live demo of the solution. But Cosmos itself is a purpose-built reporting and analytics solution that has been built from the ground up specifically for Business Central in the cloud, and it's designed with a lot of modern technology behind of it. So what we'll be doing is looking at the all of the components of Cosmos, looking at the solution, and as Anne-Marie said, if you do have any questions, please put those into the chat. I'm going to aim to just finish the presentation 5 minutes before the end, and then so that will give Simon a chance to ask any questions that come in during the session. So I think one of the most important points regarding Cosmos is the speed at which we can execute reports within Excel, so structured reports that might be used typically for financial reporting or your end of month account packs, or it could be operational reports, doesn't really matter. But all of the report processing for Cosmos is taking place on the Azure Data Center platform that sits right next door to where Business Central lives. So instead of traditional Excel-based solutions that are trying to process reports on a local laptop, we're using the power instead of the Azure Data Center. And the result of that, of course, is that we've got a lot of leverage in terms of capacity and horsepower, if you like, behind the services that we use, and that results in report speeds that are on average 48 times faster than traditional Excel-based solutions. So what does Cosmos comprise of? So if we just take a look at the components of the product, first off is the Cosmos portal. This is basically the end user interface for pretty much most activities, whether you're administering users, which we'll show you, whether you're creating new or editing existing reports. You come here to run reports, to schedule reports, to archive documents, that type of thing. Also to work with the data management side of Cosmos. But the solution comes out of the box with a pre-built data model, a suite of reports. So it's very, very quick to get customers started. And our onboarding process only takes 30 minutes. So when designing reports, one important thing when designing Cosmos was to actually allow business users to have more accessibility to be able to design your own reports. So of course, Business Central comes with like a pre-built set of reports, but it's still the case that many customers want to be able to have a tool set to be able to lay reports out in exactly the way that they want. And of course, Excel is continuing to be a very popular platform for doing that. But one of the advantages when working with Cosmos is that we've got a very condensed tool set to build the reports. We're working with the Cosmos data model, so it's your Business Central data, but arranged in a format that's much easier for business users to understand. And the tool is doing a lot of the linking together of the tables and that type of thing for you. There's no coding required, and I'll show you building reports so you can see how easy the process is. Now, at the same time, Power BI is something that organizations want to get started with, but one of the biggest challenges with Power BI is the format with which your data starts with, as it's stored in the Business Central raw database. So if you like, more than half of the battle is actually trying to get your data into the right format such that you can start to build visualizations with Power BI. And what Cosmos does is it allows you to put visualizations together. So if you like, to do the fun part without actually doing the preparation of the data, because we handle all of that for you, and we point Power BI directly at the Cosmos data model. Okay, so without any further ado, that's the slides over, and we'll just jump straight over into Cosmos to actually show you around the solution. So as mentioned, everything is a hosted solution by ourselves. So customers don't have anything to manage in terms of server infrastructure, that type of thing. Like Business Central, we are supplying this as a service to customers. And after we do the onboarding session, we link everything up to your Azure tenant. So if I'm just to click login here, I'm using my Microsoft account to log into Cosmos, which would be the same account that you typically would use to access Business Central. Now, because we're linked up to your Azure tenant, the process of just doing simple things like adding new users is much easier. I can just start typing. This looks up in the Azure Active Directory, comes back with the name of the person here that I want to add. This is a fictitious user called Alice Analyzer, and but you can see the process of adding the user into the system, and then just managing user roles is dead simple. And now Alice can actually log into the Cosmos portal. You'll see at the top we've got full users, and underneath we have light users. The main difference really between those two is that the full users can actually design Cosmos reports, whereas light users can just run existing reports that have been built, but they are able to specify their own filters, use the drill down feature, that type of thing. But in the end, full users can do anything at all, including being an administrator, an editor of the actual data model. And then at the bottom, you'll see that we have service users, and that's just for ourselves and the partner to help support you. So not every user would see that screen when they log in. Typically, users would land up coming to this area. This is where all of the structured Excel reports live. The screen is divided up into a couple of different distinct areas. At the top, we have a workspace. So this is where reports are being created or edited. And then beneath, the reports that are checked in are ready to run or share with other users. So to begin with, when we first deploy Cosmos, customers can get up and running really quickly with a gallery of pre-built report content. So there are reports here that cover different areas of the functional modules of Business Central, such as finance, AP, AR, sales, purchasing, and inventory. And these reports kind of reflect those business areas. So if I just search for a report that I want to use from a template and just import that, it just drops straight down into the report section. I could edit this report also to make some changes to it if I just want to add a field here or there, but that report just imports, and then afterwards that's ready to use. So if I just search for that again, I can see this report has dropped in here now. Just a quick bit on security. If I just click on the ellipsis and just come to the security, if I wanted to expose this report template to Alice, who I added just at the beginning of the process, then I can do that. Just press save, and now when Alice logs in, this is the view that she would basically see. She would now see this one report, and she would be able to run and execute it as a user. So let's go ahead and in fact what I'll do is, yeah, let's run this report first, and then I'm going to run a couple of other reports as well. So most reports have got some kind of a request page. I could change this starting and ending date for the income statement. I can choose whether or not I want to run a report to allow the users to drill down on the transactions, and then I can press run and execute that report. Now, while that's just kind of processing away there, what I'll do is just run a couple of other reports at the same time. So I've got a report pack here, which is several different reports together. And what I'll do is run an income statement forecast. Now, all of these reports kind of run side by side each other. So the resources that we've got in the background on the Azure data center, they kind of scale up and down depending on whatever demand is being thrown at the system. So reports run side by side rather than being queued up. And then once reports are finished, like this first report at the bottom, I can open that up and just look at the results within Excel Online. So we'll look at this report first, which is basically laid out in different sections. So at the top of the report, we have the account categories, and these are basically listed down in these larger sections down the page. And then inside of those sections, the general ledger accounts are listed that belong to that particular account category. And then what we're doing dynamically in the opposite direction is building out the columns according to the, in this case, it's a global dimension, but Cosmos is very flexible. We can make rows, columns, sheets based off of any data that's in the data model. So it's not too fussy about what the data is. It's just more about tools that I use to expand out the content. At the top here, what I'm going to do is just open up the Cosmos add-in. So this is a modern Office add-in, which is pushed out automatically via the Microsoft Admin Center. Because it's a modern add-in, it works exactly the same way in Excel Online and also Excel Desktop. So please note, everything that I'm showing you today is completely browser-based. So this also makes the entire solution platform independent. So whether you're running on a Windows laptop or an Apple Mac, or it could even be on a Google tablet or something like that, it really doesn't matter because you're able to do every single operation with Cosmos through the browser. So on the right, this is showing me some context about the aggregate that I'm selected on. So this is just indicating that this is a sum based on the amount field of the GL transactions table. We are applying a function which reverses the sign, so all of my revenue figures appear as a positive number. And then under the filters, this gives me some context about the row, the column, and the date range that the transactions for this particular aggregate are for. So it kind of explains to me how that aggregate has been filtered. And then whether I'm a full user or a light user, I can just come straight to the viewing tab, click on the drill down function, and what this will basically do is just spin up another tab for me within Excel, such that I can see all of the detailed transactions behind this particular aggregate that I'm selected on. So this is, I think it was electronics, and for account number 44200, and this is every single GL transaction that makes up that aggregate. Now, one thing just to bring your attention to, in column E, you'll see that I've got different companies that are basically feeding into this aggregate. So when we draw data from Business Central, it's not only one company. The Cosmos data model is built up of data potentially from more than one company. And then we've got choices as to how we lay this out. This report is designed such that we're making the aggregate in the report contain more than one company's data, but equally it could be that we design the report to split the companies out by sheet or by column and then separate the details, or it could be that we run the report and just specify a filter for which company we want the report to run from. So you could have a common template that relates to whichever filters that you want to set when the report is being run. If I just jump back into the Cosmos portal and just go back to the report that we just ran, couple of things here. A lot of finance teams want to keep like snapshots of the reports. We do not keep every single report run because it's very quick to run reports. But instead, what we do is have an archive feature where I could actually keep this snapshot of the report. And when I press archive, what will happen is the report will be transferred into like a permanent SharePoint repository in the background, and the archive message could be accessed by anybody who the report definition is shared with as well. So typically it might be that a finance department runs their set of accounts, puts here, these are the final accounts for whatever month, and then that gets permanently archived and stored in a SharePoint repository in the background. Equally so, you might want to distribute reports automatically. So the other option that I would have against this is to set a schedule, either weekly or monthly, against the report. We could set report options, set an email recipient. And it's important to note that the email recipient could be just any valid email address. So it doesn't even need to be a Cosmos licensed user. So the recipient of a scheduled output would just receive the report with an Excel attachment to the email, and you can open up the result of the report without requiring the Cosmos add-in. But if you do run the report with drill down, you would then need to be a light user, for instance, to use the capabilities of that report. But it doesn't stop the report being opened by any user, basically with Excel. So let's take a look at a couple of the other reports that I've run. So this is a income statement forecast. So there's lots of different variations as to how you can choose to lay reports out. In this situation, it's just mimicking a year where we've completed part of the year, and these are our actuals per month by GL code. And then the remaining part of the year is being built out according to budget numbers that we've got. So we've got a some kind of forecasted amount for a particular year. Most of the reports in the gallery are like single page reports, but here, for instance, this is a report pack, so it is also possible to build multiple reports within the same Excel workbook. So here, for instance, I've got lots of different sheets that that could be different versions of an income statement. So if I just run through this, this tab, for instance, is the income statement for one particular month. This one is a year-to-date version. This one is a year-to-date version, but where we're splitting out the columns by month. This one is the same thing, where we're splitting out columns by dimension. And then on top of financial reports, then we've got some kind of operational report where we're just showing, what are the sales of item category by all of my salespeople listed out in columns, and then within the matrix, I'm basically showing the total of the sales for a particular period. So hopefully this just gives you an idea as to how organizations can build their whole report packs, run them in very short space of time, and to really speed up the end of month process. Now, all that is really good, but a lot of the time people want to see, right, well, how easy is it to build these reports from scratch? So we can do this, and we'll call this experience webinar, and just press create. So I can either create reports either in Excel desktop or Excel online. Generally, I work in Excel online. I find it really helpful to work in that environment. And what's happening now is that Cosmos will create a report template, which is just an empty Excel document. The Cosmos add-in will load here for me, and I can just open up the task pane. That will initialize the add-in, and then now I've got everything that I need here to build out my report. So on the right hand side here, I've got a very kind of compact tool set. There's only 7 different tools that we use when we build out Cosmos reports, and this is also supported by an AI chatbot called Captain Cosmos that sits here, and business users can just ask questions, right? So I could just say, for instance, how do I add filters? And what this should do is go off and just retrieve a suitable article for me that links straight to our knowledge base, and this will have a an article with a video, like a short walkthrough of a particular topic, and some screenshots as to how to achieve certain things within the actual product. So it's quite easy for people to get started. It's worth noting that all of our online training through videos is completely open gated. It's free of charge for customers, and there's about 300 articles with short bite-sized videos for people to get started. So what I'm going to do here is just build an example report, and I'm going to call that sales by salesperson. I'm going to have a report where all of the Excel worksheets are separated by salesperson, and then on each sheet I'm going to have a set of columns where I'm going to have, for instance, my customer number, the customer name, the city, the sales for the customer in a particular month, and then I'll have the total sales at the end. So the idea would be that for every salesperson, we would have a separate sheet that lists out all of the customers for that salesperson downwards in rows. And then what we'll do is build out the months in columns across in this direction. So we have one column for every single month. And then, of course, the sheets will be separated by salesperson as well. Now, when I want to run the report, I also want to have a filter for the year. So what I'll do here is just put a box for year filter and just format that the same, and then we'll put the filter value just inside here. So one of the important things when designing reports is obviously having an idea of what it is that we want to achieve before we begin. So what I would start to do now is use Cosmos to basically fill in the gaps with the functions that we need to get started. So generally speaking, we start at the top and work our way down with the tools that we have. And when I press on new, we'll basically see all of the Business Central tables, but not the raw tables of Business Central. This report, we're going to be working from this table here called Sales Transactions. And this actually combines all of the invoices, the credit memos, the value entries for the detailed item costs directly in one easy to use table. So it's a lot more kind of business user friendly. This is all your Business Central data, but just arranged in much more of a accessible format. So what I'm doing here is just adding a report option with a default value of 2024. And when the report runs, I'll be requested, right, what year do I want to run the report for? But it will have a default value of 2024. But the user could choose something different. And I can just write the filter value into the report at the top so that the output of the report will show which year the data relates to. The next function I'll use is this one here called sheet lists. So if we want to build out a separate sheet by salesperson, then we can just choose the salesperson code from our transactions table and press add. Now, one thing interesting with Cosmos is it automatically pulls forwards all of the filters. So because I've added a report option for the year, this will automatically only list sheets for salespeople that have sold something in the year that the user picks. So a lot of this kind of linking together of details within the report design is kind of being done automatically for us. To build out the row and the column content within the report, so the first thing that I've done here is just drawn a row. Like, this is the area of the report that I want to have repeated down the page for every single customer. So I'm going to add what we call a range list, and these work in both directions, either in rows or columns. So under sales transactions, I've got a choice, but I'll choose to add a row for every customer sell to customer number. And then inside this area also I can add some other fields. So I'm going to use this function here called field lookups. What I'm looking for is the name of the customer, and automatically linked to sales transactions is the sell to customer table. And inside here, I can just simply pick the customer name, and that drops the field into the report design and then just moves across. And I can just rinse and repeat that process for as many fields that I want to include. So now I've come to the column that I want to build out for my months. So this is basically going to be added as a range list, just working in the other direction. So what I can do here is add a brand new range list. I didn't show this before, but Cosmos is also kind of detecting the shape of the cells that I've drawn on the screen at the beginning. So if I want to add a range list for month year, which will be values like Jan 2024, Feb 2024, etc. Cosmos kind of knows that I want to move out in the direction of columns just because of the shape that I've drawn here at the top. I can sort information in any order that I like. Now, because this is a alphabetical field, I could sort this by a different field in the background. That just ensures that my months are going to be sequenced in the correct order. And then finally, so I've now got this kind of crossroads, if you like, between the customers and my months that are going to be built out. And here is where I'm going to put an aggregate. So I just want to basically add up all of the transactions that are going to be for that customer and month combination. And in sales transactions, I have a field which is called sales. And here I'm just going to do a sum, like an aggregate. And you'll notice again that all these filters have been pulled through automatically. Each sheet is going to be for an individual salesperson. So this aggregate is automatically filtered by salesperson. The row is going to be for the customer, so that will be filtered. And so the column will be per month, and the whole thing will be filtered by the year for the report options. So all of this is kind of done automatically for me. There's not much really that I need to do. And then I can just format the report just according to anything from a formatting perspective is just using standard Excel tools, as are these sums that I'm just adding. So we're kind of combining Cosmos functions with existing Excel functions that hopefully you'll all be familiar with. And then I can just add whatever formatting to the report that I would like. I can come here to authoring and preview the report, but what I'm going to do is just close this report down and then just come to the Cosmos portal, back to my workspace, and then I can just check in the report, and then that report is ready to run and execute once it's checked in. Okay, so if I just search for Experience Webinar, so this is the report here. So again, if I just press the play icon at the beginning, this is my filter for year that I can choose to. I'll just leave this as it is at the moment. And again, when I run the report, everything will get processed automatically on the system. If I open up the activities, what you'll start to see here once it's begun to generate is that all of the sheets will be built out. So we have one sheet per salesperson code. And then finally, at the end, it will collate the whole report together and then finalize everything such that it's ready to open. So this is the output of what has been built. So at the bottom here, you can see that I've got my different salespeople tabs. And then on each sheet, I've got listed, as we asked for, downwards for all of the customers and across the top for all of the months built out. And then the intersect basically just shows me what the sales were for that customer for that month, but everything's split by salespeople. Now, these reports can be built, don't think too much about the data. This could be a list of dimension codes. This could be a list of companies or, again, dimension codes, that type of thing, or item categories. It really doesn't matter to Cosmos. All of the reports are built in the same way. You just choose the data that you want to have displayed on the screen. Okay, so how are we kind of achieving this? We'll just take a very, very brief look at the data management side. So when we connect to Business Central, we are installing first an app from AppSource, and this allows us to connect to your Business Central environment. And we choose the companies that we want to include inside the Cosmos data model. It might be that you have a Cronus company or some test companies, that type of thing, that are not relevant. So we just strategically here just choose the companies that we want to pull into the data model. In the transformation section, this is where we're kind of making the data, let's say, easier to use. So on the customer table within Business Central, we have, for example, a field that just represents the country region code, but the value of it is not really sometimes that descriptive. So if a customer is in Germany, the country region code is likely to be DE. But really the name of the country is something that would be more helpful for report design. So we introduce this brand new field here called country name, and we populate the value by making a lookup to the country region table, and we go and retrieve the name, and this is just the criteria for the lookup. So we are making, let's say, a number of these different transformations to the data to kind of unpick some of the complex way in which Business Central stores its information. But on top of that, we're merging tables together. So the sales transactions table that I was just working with based on the report that I just built is all of my posted sales transactions, whether they are invoices or credit memos. Everything's coming into this table from many different Business Central tables. Credit memo values are being reversed, that type of thing. And it just means that we've got a much easier table in the end for business users to work with. And then on top of that, we define the relationship. So how was it that I was able to link directly from my transactions table quickly to my sell to customer? Well, that is the relationship that is basically set up already. So the people designing reports don't really have that to think about. So we've done as much as possible to prepare the data before the users actually consume it. So we've done all this hard work to this data. We've got this lovely set of tables that's much easier to understand. But of course, we know that customers want to use that data also within Power BI. So what I'm just going to show you now is what happens when we point Power BI directly to that data model also. So I'm just dragging across here Power BI desktop, and this is the table view, which has all of my data. And you'll see here, this is all of the same tables that I have from my Cosmos data model. The sales transactions is that combined table from all those different Business Central tables. And then I've got other master tables like my item or my location table, that type of thing. They all basically sit within here. So you can download from the Cosmos website different Power BI models. This is a sales template model which follows best practice, where we have our transactions table in the center of the data model, and then we have all of our dimension tables on the outside. So this is things like that we want to describe our sales by. So if I want to describe my sales by location or by item or by date or by salesperson, you know, this structure is set up kind of ready to go. And this allows us to build, you know, some kind of a dashboard like this, where we've got a lot of interaction, where we can say, okay, what did Dirk Mendes sell in the year 2024? This, of course, gives us a much kind of higher level interactive view of the data. And the answer is just over 10 million. And it's really important that we are reporting as an organization from a consistent and governed data set, okay, that makes sense. So if you're displaying the information in Excel or Power BI, these are just presentation layers basically, but we're, let's say, singing from the same song sheet in terms of our data. Now, the report that I built is actually the same thing, all right? I was building a report for 2024. I've split my sales out by salesperson in my sheets in Excel, and this is the sales number. So you would expect that number to be the same, right? So just to shade over 10 million, if I go back to the report that I built, go to Dirk Mendes, this is for 2024, and then bottom right-hand corner, I've got exactly the same number here inside Excel. And it's not a coincidence that they marry up with each other. I'm basically displaying the information in two different platforms based off of the same data set. When you're building visualizations in Power BI, again, how easy is that? And like I mentioned, you know, half the battle is just getting the data correct, which we kind of solved for you. And then the next part is just building your visualization. So if I want to see my sales a couple of different ways, let's say by item category, or I want to see how my sales are split by salesperson, this is quite easy to pick out when we're building out the visuals within Power BI. Or I could have a graph that basically shows me, again, my sales. I could have a profit line and then describe this by quarter, year, or something like that. And then I'll do one final one here, which might be sales according to wherever my customers are based. So I could do this by state or something like that. And then all these visuals are kind of linked together. So if I want to filter out by a particular item category, all of the other visuals basically flex just to show me where the particular sales were for that selection. So hopefully you can see here that once you've got the data in the right format, it's nice and easy to build out the visualizations in the way that you want. So again, it makes it a lot more kind of accessible to business users. Usually when finished with Power BI, you would publish something up to the Power BI service, and there you can share with other users that are Power BI Pro users. But the nice thing is with Cosmos, we've got this kind of two-way integration to Power BI. So if I just come back here to the reporting area, we've seen this area here. This is for the Excel reports, but if I go to the Power BI section, what I see on my screen here is all of my workspaces and my Power BI reports that are published on the Power BI service. So this is kind of logging into the Power BI service as me as a user, and just displaying the right information. And this serves as a quick way of being able to access the same dashboards directly within the Cosmos portal without leaving the Cosmos URL for the application. So it kind of serves as a single point of contact or a place to go for your Excel reports, your Power BI reports, that are all powered by the same governed data set. Okay, I've tried to squeeze as much into the presentation as possible. So just what I want to do is just run through a very quick summary of what we have looked at. If you haven't asked any questions already, I would really encourage you to do so. It's really nice when we get feedback or just questions about the solution. So if you haven't already, please just take time to write a question in the Q&A, and then Simon will be reading those out just in a second. But just as a very quick summary, why Cosmos? First things first, I think one of the biggest pain points with traditional Excel-based reporting solutions is the fact that it ties up the local machine's resources when you're processing reports. And we completely eliminate that by the way that we process all of our reports on the Azure data center. So if you like, gone are the days where your Excel starts to run slowly, you can't continue with your work. We've even seen customers in the past that have had to buy separate machines just to run their Excel-based reports such that they can continue to work, which is really bonkers. Second thing is that everything that we host is 100% cloud-based, so it's a great complement to Business Central in the cloud. All of our updates are pushed out automatically through the platform, and we're releasing new features all the time, which you can see on our release page on the Cosmos website. So our quick time to value, everything that you've seen today is deliverable within 30 minutes, attached to your Business Central on your environment. It's very, very fast to get up and running. And then it's possible to extend the data model with any custom tables and fields that you have. The way that we connect to Business Central is through a specific connector. So if you've experienced having had your Business Central partner write extensions to you before, just so you can get the data that is not some of the core standard Business Central tables and fields, then we completely eliminate that through our connector. So again, it makes things a lot faster for you and makes the solution future-proof as well. And of course, making life within Power BI easy. I think most organizations would love to have great dashboards, but they just find it too difficult with the data as well. So we've kind of solved the data side of the problem, and hopefully you've seen that it's quite easy to work with the Cosmos data model to build the visualizations that you want, and then you're easily able to share those. So if you like just doing the kind of fun part, and of course you've seen the two-way integration in the sense that we can access those Power BI dashboards straight from the Cosmos portal. So it gives users a single place to point to for all reporting needs, whether it's Excel structure-based reports that are being designed with the tools that I've shown you, or whether you're using Power BI to build more interactive dashboards. Okay, so hopefully, Simon, I need to stop just for a second to take a breath, and I'll just pass over to you. So we've got exactly 5 minutes to field any questions that you've got.
Thank you, Rob. That was great. I've got a couple of questions coming through. Can I bring in operational and historical data into Cosmos? For example, of commission statements in Excel that I'd like to report from?
Business Central is, I mean, particularly for things like commissions, is, let's say, quite basic in terms of its functionality. And some organizations might have other data sources, or like you mentioned, historical data that you might want to bring in. So we are able to not only grab data from Business Central, but we can have other sources, such as like if you've got like Excel sources or historical data that might sit on an Azure SQL database, that type of thing. We've worked with some organizations that have brought in like historical data from an old NAV on-prem system when they've moved to Business Central, but they don't want to lose their history, basically. So we can use Cosmos as a repository for the historical data, and then we can join on the new data from Business Central, and then you're able still to do like year-on-year comparisons, but without filling up your shiny brand new Business Central system in the cloud with a whole bunch of historical data. So that's a strategy that we can use. But if you've got something like complex commission structures, that type of thing, that's something that we can append into the sales transactions just using external Excel data that we can join onto the data model. Yeah.
Thank you, that's great. And I've got another question here. Some of our team use Jet. Can Cosmos be used instead?
I think the answer to that is an absolute yes. I mean, I think Jet is a good product, but it was designed pretty much for like on-prem ERP systems where people were hosting servers. And I think the report execution speed and that type of thing, it kind of struggles when you're still processing reports on like a traditional add-in to Excel desktop. So hopefully what I've shown you here is the different approach that Cosmos takes by processing everything in the cloud, where the data and the processing is sitting right next to your Business Central data as it sits in the Azure platform.
Thank you. And another question here, it's an important one, this. So how do I know my data is secure in Cosmos?
I mean, Cosmos is built really following almost exactly the same principles as Business Central. Every customer has like a dedicated Azure SQL data base that sits in the background, which is the same as Business Central. We don't give direct access to that for security reasons, exactly in the same way that you don't get direct access to the database with Business Central. So you have to access the data that is hosted on your behalf by ourselves via the actual application, so via the actual reporting or via the APIs. So it's following best practice in terms of how data is stored, managed and secured.
Thank you. Another important one for some of our experienced customers using our Contracts 365 and our Service 365 solutions. Okay. How does Cosmos know about custom tables and fields in my Business Central environment?
Yeah, so when the connector makes contact with a Business Central environment, it will basically dynamically list out every single table and field within that environment. So it will basically see any custom tables, custom fields, or and that could be from something that comes from one of your vertical solutions, Simon, or it could be other solutions that have been installed onto Business Central from AppSource that have come from other external vendors. So without doing that with a specific connector for Business Central is quite complex, because to get to that data is quite tricky. You would otherwise have to do further development to write a further extension for Business Central, just to write some kind of API to be able to access that data, and that's quite time consuming, it's expensive, and it normally only solves for a spot solution. So we do it very differently, where we scan the entire database, give you a complete set of tables and fields that is appropriate to your particular environment, and then you can connect to anything inside of that that's relevant.
Thank you very much. There's another question here about sort of pricing for a full and light license, but what we'll do, we'll take that one offline and come back on that one, if that's okay. And just another question as well about where's the data stored, so tied to the security one really, but where's the Cosmos data stored?
Yeah, and physically it will basically be the same as what I mean. If you're to give you an example, if you're a customer based in the UK and your Azure tenant is a UK tenant, then the data would be stored locally in an Azure region that's local to, and it's likely to be exactly the same Azure region as where your Business Central environment is hosted as well. So in the UK, typically that's UK South, and of course that gives us great connectivity through to the data that's in Business Central. So
thank you very much. No other questions have come through at this stage, unless anybody else has any last questions I'd like to pop in the Q&A.
Okay, I mean, we can always take questions offline as well, Simon. So if people have got any other questions or people want to have discussions with us about your particular requirements, then please get in contact with the team at Experience. And I've just put the contact details just on the screen as the final slide. But thank you for hosting us. Very much appreciated. And yeah, hopefully we'll get quite a bit of interest on this. So.
Yeah, thank you, Rob, and thank you everybody for attending today. We appreciate you all taking the time, and Chloe's details are up there. So any questions, please don't hesitate to email Chloe, and we'll come back to you as soon as possible.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.